I don't consider myself a jealous man. I would say more. I trust my wife 100%. However, lately I've started to notice a lot of warning signs. Things would be different if she sat down with me and over a bottle of wine told me everything. But it seems she's too much of a coward for that kind of talk. So I had to choose an unusual way to find out the truth. My wife Stephanie apparently thought her secret plans would remain unsolved for me. She assumed that I was either too made to recognize her affair with a coworker named Eugene or had already put up with her cheating to save our marriage. She was wrong. I had long ago begun to suspect something amiss, noticing the obvious signs of infidelity, late returns from work, changes in her dressing style, a penchant for new sexual experiments, and a loss of interest in shared hobbies. Despite my attempts to discuss these changes, Stephanie dismissed them, blaming my jealousy and possessive feelings. Unwilling to remain in the dark, I took a step that many might condemn. I hired a private investigator. At the office, I eagerly awaited his report, which, to my relief, did not at first confirm my suspicions of infidelity. However, it did, he said, foreshadow another problem, a romantic attraction between Stephanie and Eugene that could at any moment escalate into a full-blown affair. Bernard's report described how Stephanie and Eugene spent lunches together, shamelessly exchanging kisses or hugging each other tightly. Their evening overtime hours seemed like an excuse to spend more time together, avoiding returning to their families. Listening to their conversations, it was clear that our actions were illegal and inadmissible in court. I wanted to know the truth for myself. Bernard assured me that in their correspondence Stephanie never spoke disparagingly of me. While Eugene tried to humiliate me, Stephanie ended up defending my honor. They hadn't crossed the line to become full-fledged lovers, but the report confirmed their romantic connection. That knowledge hurt me, but I was ready to act. There is no room in my principles for tolerance of infidelity. That afternoon, sitting in my office, I pondered my next steps after Bernard revealed my wife's affair. The love letters between her and Eugene were extremely intimate, including the exchange of candid photographs. Eugene, to Stephanie's delight, sent her a picture of his body, to which she responded with shots showing her in an intimate light. But, according to Bernard, she had not yet sent more explicit photos. Upon learning that Eugene's wife was leaving town, he saw this as a great opportunity to take their relationship with my wife to the next level. The obstacle for them was me, and they were thinking of various ways to get around me. First, they offered to throw a bachelorette party for Stephanie, but the idea was quickly abandoned because of the risk of exposure. Then an offer to send me golfing with friends was also rejected as I wasn't interested in that. Eventually, Eugene decided to go all in, convincing Stephanie that their affair would improve our marriage. He assumed that I might agree for the sake of the happiness of our union, leading her to believe that simply informing me of her intentions with him would be enough, and I would supposedly accept it. Obviously, Eugene didn't know me, as I would never have agreed to such a thing. But the fact that Stephanie believed his words made me question her mental state. Bernard confirmed that this was all the evidence he had. I took the information he provided and went home, asking him to keep an eye on the situation and notify me of any changes. On Friday, Bernard called me and informed me that Stephanie was planning to meet with me on Monday after work. She was getting ready to lay all the cards on the table regarding her upcoming date with Eugene. They planned to start Friday night with dinner and dancing and end the night at the hotel indulging in passion. She was thinking of coming back to my place the next day, Saturday, or maybe even Sunday, depending on their attraction to each other. Stephanie and Eugene had carefully considered how she would tell me everything, convincing themselves that I would accept their decision. They expected my displeasure, perhaps even anger, but Stephanie was going to convince me that this was a one-time event. They even assumed that as a reward for my understanding, Stephanie would offer me intimacy, knowing that we hadn't been intimate in a long time. She hoped I would be satisfied with Eugene's leftovers, given my needs. I only had a couple days to prepare for this conversation. Stephanie ironically referred to our upcoming conversation as an intervention and trusted that everything would go according to her plan. However, I was determined not to let that happen. I spent the weekend mulling over the various options, pondering the future of our marriage and whether it was even worth saving. I needed to sort out my feelings for Stephanie and decide if it was even worth saving. I was ready to fight for our union. After much deliberation, I came to the decision to take the bull by the horns and draw the line at our relationship, just as we had done at the beginning of our marriage. Back then, it seemed like we were happy and sharing everything in the world. Stephanie was everything to me, my best friend and passionate love. But somehow everything between us dissipated as if it wasn't true. Perhaps I had idealized marriage too much, imagining us as an invincible team, overcoming life's challenges together. Having already experienced a failed marriage, I want to wonder if the very concept of marriage, in a world where things change rapidly, is the problem. How can we expect marriage as a phenomenon to remain unchanged? As I pondered Stephanie's future with Eugene, I suddenly realized that I can't afford to be the object of ridicule. I may not want Stephanie, but I'm not going to let Eugene take her without a fight. She called me Monday afternoon, wanting to make sure I'd be home on time, saying she had something important to tell me. I confirmed, adding that I also had news. After finishing the call, I rushed to my boss' office, announcing an unexpected day off to prepare for the upcoming conversation. At 5:45, I heard her enter the garage. My heart was pounding with anticipation and anger, yet I maintained an outward calm while fighting an inner storm of feelings. There was an open bottle of wine on the table with ice and 2 ready glasses. When Stephanie walked in, leaving her things on the table, I was relieved that she had come alone, without Eugene. It made our conversation easier. "Hello, darling," I greeted her, repeating her morning greeting. "Do you need a moment, or shall we get right down to business?" She was puzzled by my desire to discuss the matter immediately, probably not expecting me to bring it up so quickly. I wasn't about to give her the benefit of the doubt. Her plan, I knew, was carefully crafted, so I needed to act unpredictably. "Oh, I didn't expect you to wait for me, but I guess better now than later," Stephanie said, sitting down across from me. "Maybe you should start," she asked. I offered her some wine, poured us both a glass and handed it to her. She nodded her thanks, and drinking half of it at once, got to the point. "Once you've started, there's no point in putting it off. You have to say it." I paused, building the tension. Stephanie leaned forward, looking at me questioningly. "I want a divorce," I said bluntly, giving her time to consider her reaction. First confusion, then shock, and then fear and anxiety. She was afraid I knew about her affair with Eugene. "How can you say that? Do you know about?" She struggled to understand my words. "I don't love you anymore, Stephanie. I can't remember when it happened, but I feel like it's been a long time." I continued, knowing exactly when my feelings changed, they became harder to ignore. "Are you serious? What are you talking about?" she asked, her eyes full of tears. Her reaction surprised me. "Remember how we started together when we first got married? We were inseparable. Went to the store together, the mall, the movies. Do you remember?" I began. Stephanie nodded. "Of course I remember." I continued, "How we tried to have dinner together at least twice a week. I counted the hours until we meet up to give you a hug, to kiss you. We shared common hobbies. Remember when you convinced me to take a pottery class? You know I always loved doing that with you." I thought you hated it. Stephanie was surprised. "No, it wasn't about pottery. It was about sharing those moments with you," I said. Then noted that I loved seeing her enthusiasm when we painted the Christmas village cabins together. We bought lots of unpainted figures and painted them together. It was tedious, but so much fun. "Yeah, yours always turned out better," Stephanie said. "How many evenings we spent drawing at that table. I loved you so much back then." And then she remembered how we used to draw those big posters from Myrtle Beach. We still have hundreds of color pictures, though like our love, they seem to have dried up. Stephanie shuddered. "My love has not dried up," she quickly objected. I continued. "I remember how our friends invite us. We walked together, went shopping together. If you needed something from the store, I went with you. But you were always busy with your phone and didn't pay attention to me at the store." She actually remembered that. "I didn't care what you chose. I wanted to be with you. I could have just stayed home and watched soccer," I admitted. "We were talking about how the neighbors got together and you didn't want to go. Do you remember why?" Stephanie was silent, as if remembering every moment of our life together. Every action that had once seemed mundane to her now took on new meaning. Stephanie wiped away the tears on her face. "I remember when you said you preferred to spend time with me rather than at parties with friends. On those nights, we often sat cuddled together under the covers and rewatched 3 Meters Above Heaven. I love that movie so much," she said, trying to hold back tears. "We must have seen it hundreds of times." I remarked as I poured her more wine. And still want to watch it with you, she exclaimed. I don't want a divorce. I dreamed that we would grow old together, whether it was setting up dances or just reading books in bed. It was important to be there for each other. Stephanie, I don't understand when things went wrong myself, I admitted, looking into her eyes. We went from having regular lunches together to once a week, and one day you said you couldn't get out of the office that often anymore, which turned out not to be true. You kept having lunch with someone else, and then we stopped seeing each other at lunch altogether. I started having lunch with coworkers and found that I enjoyed their company, perhaps even too much. I don't want to blame you, Stephanie, or make you make excuses, I said. I didn't want to fight, but it also stopped being a priority to come home early to spend time together. We were staying at work longer and feeling alienated at home. Why didn't you ever talk about it? Stephanie asked. If I knew it was so important to you, I would have tried to change. You're right, I agreed, even though I'd brought it up more than once before. I wish I could understand why being with me stopped being important to you. Maybe then I could change something about myself to make you want to spend more time with me. I couldn't seem to accomplish that, I said. It might seem like I was taking the blame for our distance, although that was far from the truth. I realized that if Stephanie and Eugene and I struck up a conversation, it wouldn't end peacefully. Stephanie would never accept my point of view, automatically labeling me as jealous in an attempt to control her. Before laying the cards on the table, I wanted her to realize how her actions had affected our connection. As time went on, we began to live almost separately. She would go off to parties and I would go to play poker. She would spend weekends at the spa. I would play golf. We could spend days without talking about anything but the weather or the news. Our intimate life often suffered too. We were too tired or not in the mood. Early in our marriage, we were inseparable, making love several times a day. Stephanie, do you remember when we used to skip dinners to make love all night? We didn't even turn on the hot tub for a year. I thought you didn't need it anymore, Stephanie began. I replied, how did you know I didn't want sex? Did you make up that excuse to blame me? I said sarcastically. I've always wanted sex, just like I did 10 years ago. It's just that your desire left something to be desired. You thought I didn't want you, but really I just lost interest in you as a partner. You were like ice, nothing new or even slightly daring. You wanted this to be over quickly so you could get back to your business, I continued. Stephanie asked anxiously, is that really what you think? Her voice expressed obvious surprise. Yes, sex has become routine for us. You haven't even tried to pleasure me. Last time I pretended to come just to get it over with, I continued. Stephanie was shocked. I had shown how far we had strayed in our expectations and desires. I explained to you that I didn't like using condoms, but you insisted that we always use them. So it wasn't hard for me to pretend to use them, accompanying the process with a quiet moan. Then it felt like I threw them away, leaving them empty, I said. Her gaze froze on me. The tears stopped rolling and her face reddened with anger, frustration, or shame. It was hard to tell. I poured her wine and she took a deep sip. It was only a matter of time, I continued, suggesting that we were both looking for someone else. Suddenly she exploded, you're cheating on me, you're in love with someone else. I quickly replied, Stephanie, you know my stance on cheating. I made a promise to you when we got married and I am true to that promise, unlike you. I can't do this. Her apology was full of embarrassment. She couldn't look me in the eye, her hands trembling. We've decided to hold off on sex until after the divorce, she stated, mentioning Eugene. I already have the divorce papers from my attorney, which will be served on you on Friday. Her reaction to this announcement was full of disbelief and anger. Divorce papers on Friday, she repeated, not hiding her outrage. I tried to remain calm and not smile at her words. In the end, it's for the best as we can both find freedom and pursue what we truly desire, I said. Can we really admit that the last 10 years have been a waste of time and just move on? I said. It's not a waste of time to me, she replied sharply. Look, Stephanie, I've thought this through. You said yourself that this is what you want. Let's be honest, you haven't seen me as a life partner in a long time. Our marriage was a mistake. You deserve someone better, not me, I continued. But I don't want a divorce. I want to stay with you forever. I love you, she stated. I'm sorry, Stephanie, but my feelings have changed. It's not the end of the world. We can split everything equally, fairly, I explained that I had offered to split our assets in half without going into the details of a lawsuit unless it became necessary to prove infidelity, which neither of us had done. I'd like you to come with me to the bank tomorrow so we can split our finances and start with a clean slate, I suggested. She was confused by this quick turn of events. Wait, you're moving too fast. I don't know what to do, she said through tears. Don't worry, I've already packed my things. I'll be staying at the hotel from today, and you can stay here until we sell the house. Here, I reassured her. Her voice trembled as she tried to stop me, but I insisted that we settle this as soon as possible. Why is this so important? Get it done by Friday, she persisted. Because you had a date planned with Eugene on Friday and you were planning on spending the night together, I began, causing her to stiffen in shock. There was a look of confusion on her face as I laid out the evidence of her cheating that the private investigator had prepared. I outlined her plans to spend the evening with Eugene, mentioning the reservation at the Gaylord Texan Hotel for Friday. It's not what you think, she began, but I didn't let her finish. Really? What about the pictures of you and Eugene kissing? I asked, seeing her tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. I fell out of love with you as soon as I found out about your plan. You wanted to make me shrivel up like my first ex-wife, I said with irony in my voice. She tried to justify herself, claiming it was just a game to revitalize our relationship. Eugene assured me it would excite you, she said. Instead of being with me, you decided to spend time with someone else. I replied sarcastically. She tried to convince me by telling me it was all for me to be happy. I wanted you to be happy with me, not someone else. How could you think that I would accept infidelity? I asked. She looked for an excuse, saying that it wouldn't be considered cheating. If you wouldn't accept it, no way in hell, was her reply. She admitted she was wrong, recognizing her loneliness and boredom as reasons for her actions. How could you feel lonely when we were together? I didn't understand what she was trying to explain, but I pointed out that her feelings of loneliness stemmed from her own actions when she distanced herself from our socializing, preferring Eugene's company. I'm not sure that was my decision, she said, avoiding my gaze. Doubting her words, she admitted, I can't believe I could have done such a thing. You stopped coming to lunches with me. Remember how you used to explain it away with your business. One time I came to pick you up and you didn't even come out to me. You just texted me that I had to eat lunch alone. After that day, I never came back, and you never mentioned our lunches. I guess you didn't even realize you lost me. I was so busy with my business, and Eugene. Apparently Eugene is yours now, I said. But I don't need him, she replied, meeting my gaze. I need you. We need to get back what we had before. I'm sorry I was wrong. I gave up on us, she admitted, but it was too late. You're not saying it's over. I didn't cheat on you. We didn't do anything with Eugene. I won't see him again. I promise. I'll quit my job. I'll find another place. Please, I don't want to lose you. I still love you, she pleaded. I cheated on you in everything, but most importantly, we didn't sleep together. I was stupid to let Eugene distract me, but I only loved you. I thought I could distract myself with him and come back to you, but now everything has changed. Eugene means nothing to me. Please don't leave me, she pleaded. It's not that simple, Stephanie. What makes you think we can just forget about it and start over? I said. Stephanie cried, covering her face with her hands. I'm never going to let you feel unimportant or taken for granted again. Can we just consider it a big mistake? Can you forgive me? She asked. You can't just ask for a second chance like it's a game of Monopoly and you have a get-out-of-jail-free card, I said. You didn't just make a mistake. You betrayed our love by giving your feelings to someone else, I began. But you've always owned my heart. I never gave it to him, she countered. And you were going to give him your body. Even if I tried to stop you, it means you didn't love me enough to fight for us. You were everything to me. I would have protected you from anyone, might have even died for you. Right now, even if you were on fire, I wouldn't pour water on you, I continued. Stephanie made a sound like a whale screaming, grabbed my hands and tried to pull me closer. Please tell me you're not serious, she pleaded. I'm sorry, you have to believe me, she said. I believe you are sorry. It shows that you're not entirely selfish and heartless. But please don't make me give you another chance. I'm not rejecting you, Stephanie. You broke it all on your own. Maybe someday I can forgive you, but our feelings are gone. It's over. You can always find comfort with Eugene, I said coldly. Eugene is married, she sobbed. He just wanted to use me. He wasn't looking for a relationship, she added. I smiled. He might change his mind now. I'm sure his wife will have something to say to him tonight. Besides, we both use the same divorce attorney, I added as I watched her reaction. I handed her a brown paper folder across the table that contained the full detective's report, including photos, and informed her that Eugene's wife also had a copy. This folder contains all the necessary information about our impending divorce and a proposal for property division from my attorney. Read it carefully, I suggested to her. She looked at me pleadingly. Please don't do that. If you still want to go to the bank with me tomorrow, just give me a call. After saying that, I got up and walked out of the house, leaving to the sound of Stephanie crying as she struggled with the divorce decree. I didn't want to prolong the process or increase the cost, so I agreed to the judge's suggestion that we go to couples counseling. To our surprise, it actually helped us openly share our feelings. Stephanie realized that she had been victimized by Eugene and had almost lost me. I explained my pain and humiliation to her. Earlier, Stephanie had suggested that I have a threesome with a friend, although I never took her up on the offer. The very thought meant something to me. As time went on, we became a loving couple again, just as we had been at the beginning of our relationship. Stephanie got a job at my company, and we started spending more time together instead of outside of the house. Out of a desire to be closer to each other, we resumed our shared hobbies, including painting and pottery. One evening, we even signed up for ballroom dancing lessons. As we watched a movie and cuddled, Stephanie kissed me, thanking me for the second chance. In response, I said, "That's what you do when you love someone." Suddenly, she seriously told me we were having a baby. This news brought excitement and joy, promising us a happy future together. And so ends our story. Share your opinion in the comments. We'll be interested to read it. Also, don't forget to put a like and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss new equally interesting and exciting stories. Good luck!
Thank you so much for watching my video and your time. Please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button. Also, I am very interested to know your personal opinion about the story. You can write it in the comments. I will definitely read it and reply to you personally.